Hello, viewers. This is Marianne from Revealing Light Tarot. How are we all today? Wherever you are in the world when you're watching, a huge hello, a shout out to you, and a thank you for joining me on this channel and for your support. Before we start today's reading, I just want to share with you. I'll pin this so that um, you can actually read the article yourself. I've shared it on my Facebook page, but it is from the Oxford Economics. They have predicted elections going back decades, including in the early 1900s as well. They've revised their prediction for November 2020. They're saying that President Donald Trump could suffer a historic defeat in the fall if the economy doesn't sharply recover from the CV pandemic. The longer the disease lingers, according to a model that has predicted the winner of the popular votes in 16 of the last 18 elections, Trump faces an absolute wipeout. The Oxford Economics predicts Trump would lose to Joe Biden by a margin of 65% to 35%. So that model uses, it's based on the pioneering political forecasting work of Yale economist Ray Fair. So how bad does that get for Trump in November? You can see why there's this huge push to open up the economy despite CV numbers, despite what's going on. So that prediction is by Oxford Economics. They have correctly predicted the last 16 out of 18 elections in the US. So well worth reading that. But I just wanted to share that with you before I go any further, because there's been a lot of I guess disappointing news coming out over the last 24, 48 hours. And it's very easy to get sucked into that news cycle, and a lot of it is negative. So I'm feeling very strongly at the moment that there is this need to step back a little bit and just maintain a perspective and understand that everything is moving the way that it should do, that these are very, very tough conditions that we're focusing on at the moment, but they are aimed at new beginnings. This is, as I keep saying, the closing down of a cycle. In terms of what you believe today when you're reading the media, also approach it with a little bit of put your critical hat on, because there's a lot of misinformation and illusion out there. And again, it's very easy with the astrological placements at the moment to get sucked into that confusion. So having said all of that, today I want to look at CV. I flagged this reading the other day when I looked at really justice and the rule of law, particularly in the US, and how that is threatened, and what might occur as we go on. The questions that I want to look at today is what conditions make a country more vulnerable to CV? Why has USA, UK, Russia, Brazil been hit so hard? I want to go to the independent inquiry, which is going to be auspiced by the WHO. Will that be independent? It's been set up as an independent inquiry. It's not designed, I don't think, to be a witch hunt. Or a vehicle that politicians can use to absolve themselves from their own mistakes. But we'll read, that's my intuition, but we'll have a look. Will it be independent? And finally, what will it show? But first to CV. Let me go back to my numbers here. The really worrying statistics are coming out of the US, as you would know. They account for 33% of the cases, and the US only represents, I think, 4.2% of the population. So currently, numbers stand at, and this is according to World-O-Meters, which maintain a running account. Again, be cynical, look closely at any of those sources. But generally, it's accepted the USA's total cases, and I feel there would be underreporting rather than overreporting. USA cases are roughly around 1.6 million. And the unfortunate tragedy behind all these statistics is that over 96,000 deaths have occurred. Russia, this is in order of the highest numbers of CV at this time. Russia is second to the US with 317,500 odd cases of CV with a death rate of around 3,000. Brazil comes in next for such a small country, 310,000 cases with an astronomical 20,000 deaths there. It's telling you something is very, very wrong with these far right-winged democracies. Spain comes in next, and we know Spain unfortunately has been hit very, very hard. And then the UK at 250 odd thousand cases with a fairly high death rate of 36 odd thousand. So the top four with the highest death rates at this time are the US, are Russia, are Brazil, and the UK in that order. Very worrying patterns that are emerging. These are countries where leaders are they're all men. They're all this masculine type of leadership, and that are really playing this very, very high stakes partisan games, political games and political strategies. And what it's doing is it's just exacerbating, making things worse, and dragging down their economies. So let's take a look what Spirit has to say. What is the spiritual perspective behind this? So what conditions make a country more vulnerable to CV, and what is the spiritual reason behind that, I guess? Let me just tune in. I'm using my classic tarot, and I'm clarifying with the Hanson Robert tarot for those that follow the decks that I use. So let me just tune back into Spirit, get out of my conscious mind, move into my subconscious or unconscious mind. Okay. So why are these countries being so hard hit? All right, so I'm seeing the energy plays a part. When I say energy, it is the negative, positive type of energy that is also here that needs to be considered. Okay, which is stopping the movement away from the virus. It's stopping that healing coming through. It is the division. It's the polarity. It's the rocky boat. It is the absence of balance is what I'm seeing is preventing the moving on from this virus. So until there is stability, consistency, and unity, the healing is more difficult. Okay. All right, let's see what the cards are going to show us. So, what conditions make these countries more vulnerable to this pandemic? What conditions make this country more vulnerable to this pandemic? What conditions? Okay. All right, I've just noticed I haven't got my my microphone in, so just bear with me while I put it in. Okay, I'll bring the laptop down and you can have a look at these cards. We have the King of Swords, and this is the absolute logic, investigations, review. Having a strategy and a plan in place will be the thing that really ensures that a problem is swiftly dealt with. And then you have that Six of Swords energy where you have the moving on. Well, this is a signifier card showing that these countries, there is an absence of logic. There's an absence of If we start out at A and we do X, Y, Z to get to B, then we're going to be able to solve that problem. Let's see what's challenging that logic, that strategy, the planning that comes forward, the investigation. Let's see what's challenging that, and we'll get a good idea. It is money. It's actually the Queen of Pentacles. Now she is stability. It's interesting I didn't get the King of Pentacles. In this case, the Queen of Pentacles is stability, security, stabilizing things, making sure that that balance is there, that that equilibrium and calm is there. So I'm coming back to the energy in each of these countries is making it worse, is making the CV aspects worse. The other aspect of the Queen of Pentacles is the focus on the economy. So it's interesting, these leaders are trying to reopen things up. And look, that is a valid concern, because I think in the US there are something like 38 million people unemployed. When do we get to the point? And I already know we have food banks opening, people going without. So it's a valid consideration to open the economy up, but how do you do it? Where is the plan, and where is the consistency, and where is the uniformity? So opening the economy up with a plan in place that is signed on by everyone is the answer to save the economy, or to bolster the economy, to stabilize the economy. Now, this is what is very difficult to, I guess, to understand, why these leaders don't understand that basic premise. I think Boris Johnson did, but it was a little too late. Let's have a look at, this goes to the stability of government, the stability of democracies, I guess. We have the Ace of Cups, which is coming forward all the time when I read on CV. It talks about overflowing emotions. It talks about people wanting a new start emotionally. Now, it's interesting that this has been couched in terms of emotions. So this is a sea of competing emotions, a sea of conflicting emotions. So you've got this, what is partisanship at its heart? Partisanship is dividing via emotional reactions and then leading to actions. So there's a huge, huge emotional element in these countries that perhaps isn't stable. What is needed is this balanced approach, this logical, calm, strategic kind of approach is needed. Now, until that happens, the economies are going to suffer. Now, it is the speed at which, with the Chariot in the past position, the speed at which this is all unfolded. It took people unaware. Overnight, within 2 to 3 months, unemployment ballooned out. The economy almost not ground to a halt, but it's resetting itself. And, you know, if you were an entrepreneur, now is the time, as these conditions will change until there is a vaccine. And even if there is a vaccine, you know, is everybody going to be vaccinated? Now we've got an anti-vax movement coming forward. So again, the conditions that were, I guess, promoted in the past, which led to their victory by division, victory by inciting the emotions, are the very things which are working against these leaders. So let's keep going. Right, okay. I would like to tell you, this is only a potential. The Tower is only a potential future. However, it is breaking down. As I said, we are at the ending of one cycle. We are manifesting something new, but first something old has to be broken down. Now, this is cold comfort when circumstances are so difficult for so many. But This is the reality that all of this has been being exposed. Let's now move to remembering the emotionality of everything, remembering that we've got some fairly difficult retrograde planets that are retrograde. We've got this Piscean Neptune energy also, which makes us more prone to illusions, delusions. So again, logic is what is needed, and I come right back to that King of Swords. Now, the immediate future, on the upswing or on the upside of this fairly dire reading here, is that people are now questioning, really, when it has hit them very hard, in terms of their livelihood, in terms of their health, in terms of everything that they know being threatened. People are now moving toward change. And again, I come back to that Market Watch article from Oxford Economics. And unfortunately, the economy is what is going to mobilise the masses. Now, people will say quite realistically, what about the children in cages? What about all the dreadful, horrible things that regimes like Donald Trump's Sideshow Don and his Carnivale type of government, and I'm talking a fairly dark sideshow as well. What about everything that they've done? Why won't that motivate people? But we're talking here about a majority. And sometimes lessons have to be really personal and hard for a change to come. So what CV has delivered is these very difficult lessons for the masses, for us all. And we're questioning everything that we've known. This is a huge, it's a time of huge change. The Eight of Pentacles in the here and now. This is the work. This is the unemployment lines. And again, I think Facebook now announced, not that I ever want to talk about Facebook. I don't hold any respect for Mark Zuckerberg or his platform, Facebook. I think it is very, very destructive. But let's go to Twitter. Well, some could argue Twitter is destructive as well. However, these, I guess, tech companies have announced that people can work from home permanently post-pandemic. So everything is changing. Businesses that were once profitable have had to evolve and find different ways of doing things. There are opportunities for in our online environment now. Let's keep going. People are becoming on the positive side, moving away from economics. People are becoming more conscious. I think there are surveys released that people in the US are more conscious of the environment. So there'll be lessons for government that are pursuing agendas, fossil fuel agendas such as Australia. There will be lessons for them because the market is just not going to be there. People want change. This virus is resetting everything. The environment around is people are looking for support. Here's that cup, remembering the emotionality, and the tower. People are looking for support. So they're looking for rulers that are going to come forward with plans, come forward with calm logic, and they're looking for protection because these are fairly dark times. So why have these four leaders got the highest cases? They are not of this energy. Okay, so let's keep going. The downfall here in the hopes and fears. This is the dark night of the soul. This is a very, very troubled sky here. People are fearful. People are panicked. But the number 10 is the ending, the death throes of a cycle that had to end. And if you apply that King, I just want to say, if you apply that King of Swords energy now, right now, just moving a bit away from the emotion, if you apply that logic to this card here, to the ending, to the types of governments that thrived over the last 4, 5, 3 years ago, you would see that this was if you hopped on the train, you were going to face a train wreck. Let's see what the outcome here is, because that's what you want to know. This is the Three of Wands. It's a good outcome card, but it means we've got to wait a little bit. The Three of Wands talks about essentially it's expansion, it's commercial, it's trade, it's expansion. But this person is standing waiting. He's built his fire and he or she is waiting for their ship to come in. So this is where we get to the movement toward new governments, new ways of doing things. Even existing governments who may have been going down this path prior to this CV are having to rethink it because people are just not wanting to take these risks anymore. People are feeling very insecure. Again, insecure about their money. Now, money is not an evil thing. It's how people use money. Money is what allows us to move within this world. And so we want at least enough to take care of our immediate needs and our families. And so that's where this focus, this insecurity is hitting now. People are feeling that they can't do that. And then the Fool card, we are wanting new starts. So these governments that have put their faith into this, or have put their fortunes, have crafted their political futures and their political strategies on the absence of strategies, on the absence of logic, on emotion alone, have actually created enough emotion now during this pandemic for people to mobilise change. No wonder Trump is beside himself. No wonder they want to move to open the economy without a plan in place, without a sufficient plan in place, because they know that that's what people will vote them out just on that. At the base of the pack, we have the Hierophant. This is something bigger than even Donald Trump and members of the moneyed elite. This is a higher source. And we do have the Sun card, which is full illumination, which is occurring at this time, particularly in the US, around CV. This is my card for CV, Corona, the Sun, illumination, full illumination. And we have lies and deceit, the Seven of Swords. When do you need your armory? Breaking into the tents, taking the weapons, leaving the camp undefended. When do you need that? When do you discover that the armory has been looted? You discover that when you need those weapons. So this is what is being illuminated now. So we have, without wanting to sugarcoat any of my readings, to stay in the reality of them, but to also bring a spiritual perspective through, we have the Ten of Wands. This is not easy. This is very difficult times. In fact, I probably should have read yesterday, but I took a day off because the energies are just so difficult at the moment. And that's why I say take a step back, be very, very careful where you put your energies. The Supreme Court, for example, has issued a temporary stay on the full redacted copy of the Mueller report to the House Oversight Committee. But when you look at the detail of that, suddenly everybody is just heartbroken over that. But when you look at that, the findings or the evidence and the testimonies of the grand juries are supposed to be secret except to a court if there is an investigation going on. The House Oversight has said we are still looking at impeachment processes, and therefore not the House Oversight, the House Judiciary Committee, before someone rushes to correct me without thanking me for this reading. It is the House Judiciary Committee. There are plenty of good articles around which will go into the detail of that, but it is a temporary stay. They've given both parties, it's the House Judiciary Committee, they've given them until 1 July to come up with briefs, and then the Supreme Court will decide whether they'll hear that. The biggest, risk here is that the House Judiciary Committee won't get that before November election. We'll wait and see. I'm not reading on that today. I'm reading on CV. So let's move forward to the inquiry. But I wanted to point that out because it is a temporary stay. Stay in that logical energy. Don't move into that emotionality. And let's just wait and see and have faith in a higher source. So let's move to the inquiry, the CV inquiry. Auspices under who? Let's have a look here. All right, this independent inquiry. It was signed on by most of the member states. The EU pushed very, very strongly for an independent inquiry, free from kind of political, emotional bombs, if you like. And everybody had to take a step back and say, hang on a minute. This virus could have easily gotten out of any country that had the same kind of conditions as China. In fact, previous viruses, we live in a world full of viruses. Previous viruses, while some have come from China, have also come from the Middle East and also come from the US and also come from Africa. The question is, the questions that need to be answered is this a man-made virus or a naturally occurring virus? The evidence is suggesting, the logical evidence is suggesting it is a natural virus. But then looking at China's actions through January and also other countries' actions. So will this CV inquiry, will it be independent? Will it be independent? Show me, Spirit. Will it be free from political argy-bargy, partisanship, leaders seeking to deflect? Will it get to the truth? Will this CV inquiry get to the truth? Okay, the signifier card is partisanship, obstacles and challenges. This is why perhaps the inquiry should be done post-pandemic, because there is a huge partisan push here, challenged by complete fear, worry, panic, restriction. All of these emotions, this emotionality constricts and constrains. Not good cards for this inquiry, is it? At the outset, I'm afraid. Let me bring the laptop down. The foundation is the Hierophant government, but also this stability being brought forward by a higher source. Now that's encouraging. That's the foundation of the reading. This is somebody that won't be trifled with. Let's keep going. Here we have CV in the past. And this illumination aspect, I asked Spirit for a spiritual aspect to this reading. Spirit is giving me that. Now, the Seven of Pentacles review. There is a big push within this inquiry to the CV has impacted so I guess much on economies. So this is the review card. They will want to know why economies were so badly affected. So again, something happening in China or Geneva, the WHO headquarters. Each country has a leader to make decisions themselves. If they'd acted a week earlier, if they had have acted 2 weeks earlier, what would have been the outcomes? Okay, so we have in the near future, we have this search, this for, I feel, to move away from partisanship, this is in the immediate future, to really bring forward that logic here. Let's not sell the independence of this inquiry down the creek just yet. All right, so we've got the here and now. This is the speed at which CV has hit us. We're in the middle of that. We're in the middle of that chariot ride here. And it's very hard to control that speed. That's hit in the here and now. And of course, we've got the high numbers, the number of cases worldwide, the number of deaths, the cost to the personally, the tragedies, and of course, the cost to our livelihoods, the cost to the economy. And that's happening very, very quickly. The fear is that this is the Ten of Pentacles. The fear is that this is money delete, but it's also our legacies, our savings. So this is in the fear position, suggesting also, if I go to the big business aspect of this, that there is likely to be this attempt to corrupt this inquiry. But we do have the Queen of Cups along with the Ace of Wands. I think this will be a reasonably sound, although it is open to that partisanship, and it probably shouldn't be done right now. But if we want answers, this Queen of Cups will bring them forward. She has something to reveal. And we've got the Emperor trying to control things. So there is a level of, with that Emperor, that can be a benign influence, but it can also be an attempt to control the findings, the outcomes. And here we have the Empress, which is, I'm seeing Trump and Russia here. But that aside, the Empress comes forward around the harvest, abundance, fertility, new beginnings. I might draw some clarifiers. At the base of the pack, we have the Six of Pentacles, the loans, the debts, giving and receiving help. And we have judgment, an inevitable ending here. I think this is the contraction of the economy and a rebalancing, the rebalancing with the temperance card that I was talking about. Let's have a look at this Queen of Cups here. This is an emotional, but it's also trying to control the emotion as well. Let's have a look here, the Queen of Cups. Will it be independent? I'm seeing a lot of attempts to control this, and particularly to get compensation or easing of debt out of China. This is the biggest threat, that it will be that there will be countries trying to control that. Will it be independent? Show me this Queen of Cups. This is an emotional card. Page of Pentacles, finances, people wanting to focus on the financial aspect. Juggling things at the moment, juggling finances, manipulation. And we have the Four of Rods there, the community, celebrations, and the Three of Cups, those coming together. It's going to be very difficult to get consensus, I feel, around some of these findings, and there are competing financial agendas. Because of what has been lost, and we've got double validation here with the partisanship. One of the findings could be, we've got balance and we've got the Fool. One of the findings could be that, if you go back to my previous reading on the US, Russia, Brazil got very high and an upward trajectory at the moment. This is a leader who has actively been campaigning on this far right-winged stance, even to the point where we won't wear masks. I saw a very good quote. Okay, so I'm getting carried away here. just finishing up this reading, it will show that the division, the lack of planning and the lack of strategy has had a bearing on the high numbers of cases. So I feel that aspect will be brought forward. I do feel also there will be forces that will try and control the outcome, and I do feel that there will be a big push to get compensation out of China through this mechanism. I don't know that that inquiry's terms of reference goes that far, but we'll see. We'll see. They're the kinds of influences at this early stage that I see coming through. I also feel that an inquiry while an event is still occurring is probably not. It's not. There are better times to do this as well. So let's see if. You all want to know, don't you, whether this was a man-made virus or whether it was a naturally occurring. I've always felt it was naturally occurring, but I felt that there was a cover-up to preserve an economy right from the start. And that cover-up wasn't just in China, it was also in other countries as well. So was this, let's just pull a few cards because I know that's what you want to find out. Was this CV, a naturally occurring virus? Was CV a man-made virus? Was CV a man-made virus? So we've got the King of Wands, the Knight of Wands, which is coming forward with, it's a plan, it's a project, and we've got loss. Okay, they're the two signifier cards. We've got something coming out of this cup here, looking like a surprise. This is something that would surprise us. In the past, we've got the Lovers. So this is usually my card for Trump. We've got the Voter. So it's as I was shuffling, I heard Spirit say, you've done a good job so far. Why are you backtracking to this question? And that's what I'm getting. I'm getting that Trump will go in November. Okay, so we've got heartbreak and loss here in the immediate future with this virus. It's exposing greed and materialism. I will go with it, Spirit. And we've got a higher. And Spirit is reminding me there is a higher source to all of this. And this is where I said step back from these kinds of, there is a lot of illusion and delusion. So I have to apologise for that question. I'm going to say that that my initial readings indicated it was a naturally occurring virus. It didn't rule out perhaps the labs studying this virus and perhaps an unintentional leakage. But that was my reading back then. We might leave the independent inquiry to find that out. This is the always comes up for Trump these days. I go back to Donald Trump to the US, two other leaders taking what is the poison chalice that they're consuming here. They're almost having to reap the I guess decaying fruit of their past behaviours, and we've got the eight of wands, things coming forward very quickly. That is this virus. This is the Queen of Wands. People are wanting, what is the Knight and the Queen here? The Knight and the Queen are movements toward recovery and movements toward change. And here we have my King of Swords. There will be investigation on this. There will be revelations coming forward. Some of this is going to surprise you. It's going to be a rich, investigation, and some of the evidence that will be brought forward. There will be winners and losers, but ultimately, at the end of the day, this lack of logic, this lack of objectivity, this lack of strategy and planning will be what will be one of the overriding results of this investigation that contributed to the impacts of CV. We do have reflection at the base of the pack. We do have review. Everything's up for review. This is a changing environment across the world, endings and beginnings. We do need to have this coming together and supporting one another with that Three of Cups. And here's our emotionality. But finally, we are moving back toward communities. The world is a changing place at the moment, and it's going to change even more. So some of my future readings will look at how the world might be changing and how we can, how can we, I guess, what are the opportunities for us? What are the challenges? We'll do a reading on that in the future. But I have to thank Spirit. That was an interesting process for me. Be wary of going down the rabbit hole at the moment, because it's not where you should be. There should be this objectivity, and that came forward very, very strongly in my readings. So thank you to the viewers that thank me all the time for the work that I do. Thank you for your support, for those people that actively, support when they can, send donations in. It's not a prerequisite of following this channel, but I do appreciate everything you do. But mostly just thank you for being with me and part of this community. Which, despite the difficulties of reading on these things, I come back for a reason, and that is because of you. So have a rest this weekend as we move into the weekend. Take a rest and recharge. You really need to be at that spiritual level. You need to be clearing your energy, and, white lighting yourself and meditation are two of the very, very strong ways to do that. Cleansing your energies every day in this kind of environment. You need to be self-caring and nurturing as well. And look, it'll burn you out if you stay in the news stream 24/7. So choose carefully what you're going to watch. Choose it for enlightenment and meaning and depth. And try and stay away from the rabbit holes. All right, thank you for tuning in, and I'm going to take a weekend off, and I'll be back early in the week for another reading. Thank you again.